Hello and welcome to the second episode of my illustrious podcast. My name is JT and you are very welcome. In this episode we'll hear from Jessica Sutta. She is a former member of the Pussycat Dolls and she recently gave an interview talking about the effects the COVID vaccine had on her. Moving on from that, we'll have a brief look at what can be achieved using free AI offerings from the comfort of your own home and with very little skill or effort at all. A little later we'll hear Austrian YouTuber and prepper Survival Lilly, also known as Elisabeth Puntigam, exposing an EU parliamentarian's parody-style video suggesting Europeans have a 72-hour emergency survival bag at the ready. The whole thing is set to old-sounding classical music as though it's not serious. And finally, we'll have a look through the headlines and main stories in this month's TheLightPaper.
Are you ready? Let's go!
So without further ado, here is Jessica Sutta and her testimony as regards the COVID vaccinations.
After my first shot, 3 days later, I woke up with a muscle spasm in my right rib that just would not get out. It felt like it was a knife inside. It was burning, intense brain fog. I went from a professional dancer with the Pussycat Dolls about to go on tour. COVID stopped that, but I was fit and healthy, to someone who sometimes can't get out of bed. And I've just been diagnosed with vaccine-induced lupus, and life is painful. And I just, in my heart, I'm willing to risk my reputation so this doesn't happen to anyone else. I just don't in my heart feel like it's right to not speak out. I'm not trying to create vaccine hesitancy, but I do want to spread awareness that this is happening and that people are suffering from adverse events. Not everyone. And I think investigations need to be in order to see what's going on so this doesn't happen to anyone else. So I have been speaking out for many, many years. Number one, because I became so ill. Number two, I was watching the people around me in the injured community. There's no time on their hands. You know, the time is ticking and they need medical care now. We can't wait 10 years. Like, it is a critical humanitarian crisis that we're dealing with. So for me, as scary as it was to speak out, I kind of just put my career aside and put humanity first, because we're forgetting about this community that's suffering in silence, and we're ostracized from society because of adverse reactions to this technology.
The vaccine injury-induced lupus, when was that diagnosis given?
About 7 months ago. I was getting markers for autoimmune, and then finally my doctor's like, this is what it is. We finally have some sort of diagnosis, but it's a multi-system situation, injury, mast cell activation, long COVID symptoms where it's brain fog and fatigue, and my skin hurts, and I flare in my rib cage, and in my hands and feet, and my eyelids are heavy, and it just feels like my body has completely been hijacked by this technology, and it's been a little over 3.5 years now.
Given the promise of this relatively new technology, I'm just wondering if this whole ordeal has affected your attitude toward other vaccines.
It's definitely piqued my interest to understand the technologies and how they work, because I do believe in the technology in hindsight, right? But I will not blindly trust the medical system ever again after what happened to me, right? I'm not anti anything. I'm just anti being sick, and I don't want our children to be harmed, by any means. And for me, informed consent is imperative. I think we need to have informed consent and know what you're getting into. The vaccine companies don't have liability. They're protected. And so you just have to know that this is a possibility. So you have to decide yourself if it's worth it or not.
Okay, well, having heard that, I'm not sure that very many people will be convinced that it is worth it. In fact, the title of the book by Brianne Dressen is worth a shot. And although I haven't read it myself, I am aware that the book has received rave reviews, lots of 5-star reviews on Amazon. And if you're interested, it's probably a good read. So, as I said before, we would have a little look at what you can do with AI in this day and age. There are any amount of websites which are offering users free AI tools. There are obviously others that you have to pay for, but even for the casual inquirer, if I could put it that way, you will find plenty of websites that are offering you the ability to do all sorts of things with AI. I think the first attempts that I had with making use of these tools were in AI authoring products, and I basically had provided a short piece of text, probably less than a paragraph, maybe a couple of sentences, and basically asked the AI to take what I had provided it with and essentially run with it to develop what was already provided, to expand on it, and to write several more paragraphs. And surprisingly to me, the internet, or the AI on the other side of the internet, was able to do this very in what appeared to be a very competent way. Grammatically, everything looked pretty good. It was coherent, it made sense, and even the structure of the sentences, was not too long and not too short. And really, the whole thing appeared to, as I say, it was it was coherent. It appeared to flow quite well, and really very impressive and very difficult, I would say, for a third party to have a look at and conclude that it wasn't written by a human being. Obviously, if you happen to know a particular individual and their writing style, that might raise some red flags for you, because you might know that that the work produced is not in the same style as the person who is claiming to have created it. So those you can easily find that kind of thing online if you just do a search for AI authoring free online, or words to that effect. You should find that pretty easily. Now, another thing that you might have a little look for, if you're so inclined, is the AI artist websites. And I suppose in a similar way, quite often the way these work is that you provide the AI with a description, a textual description of what you think you would like to see in the image. Often as not, there are various customization options, which could be things like whether you want the image to be portrait or landscape in terms of its orientation, whether you are wanting something that kind of looks a bit like a cartoon, or whether it's more of a photograph, or indeed whether what you want is a drawing or a something that looks like a painting. And by providing all these different parameters and tweaking and adjusting and so on, it really is quite astonishing how many really quite professional looking images can be generated in a really short space of time. One of the websites that I'm thinking on, I don't want to name it, just in case I get the name wrong. But there is one of the sites that I'm thinking of which will actually quite readily generate up to, I think it's 6 images, 6 alternative images based on the text prompts that you provide. So there's quite a bit to choose from there. And finally, the last AI offering, if you like, that I have tried to date is one which has to do with creating music. Now, I had heard in the past that this was probably going to be a thing in the future, that AIs were going to be capable of creating music. Now, I knew that the likes of ChatGPT had been, I know people who have used ChatGPT to create poetic verses on a particular subject, and the feedback from them was that it was pretty good. It appeared to work well, and it was quite impressive. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is, given that I knew that that was already feasible, it's no surprise then that an AI can produce the lyrics for a song. But what is perhaps a little more surprising is the way that it is actually able to transform those written lyrics into vocals, make it sound pretty human, and also to have an accompaniment which goes along with it and sounds quite pleasing to the human ear at the same time. So far I've really only tried this properly with one site which seemed to work really rather well. From whatever prompts I provided to the AI, it generated 2 alternative tracks, I suppose you might call them. I had listened to both of them. To be fair, both of them were not bad, but I did feel that there was one which perhaps was just slightly better, slightly more realistic sounding perhaps than the other, and that's the track that we're going to close out with today.
The biggest fear that the World Economic Forum has is that there are going to be people that will not comply. Their biggest fear is your fight for freedom. Their biggest fear is that you will make individual decisions for yourself and you will not follow their orders. So this digital stuff is absolutely key, because without it, they can't enforce anything. Without it, they can't mandate that you do something. Without it, they can't control your life. So I don't care if you're talking about carbon emissions and what's safe and effective as far as they are concerned. I don't care if they're talking about an experimental injection, a series of injections, whatever they may be, and what's safe and effective as far as they're concerned. This is not about those individual things. This is about the desire to control you from the outside in. And if they have a digital process whereby they can restrict your movement, your behavior, and your decisions with the click of a button, you are done. You're done.
Okay, now we come to a brief review of the light paper for March and April. It's issue 55, and from the front page we have the headline, "Were 55,000 killed by the NHS? Official statistics show horrific events, and that's a full page article, continued on page 2 actually, from Jackie Devoy. Also on page 2, running on to page 3, there is the headline 5 years of Midazolam murders. Jackie Devoy talks to 5 relatives of victims of involuntary euthanasia in UK hospitals. On the 3rd page, digital identity looms. There is an article from Big Brother Watch. Bill fails to protect our civil liberties. Then we also have Say Hello to Your Digital Twin and Goodbye to Freedom from Manipulation and Restriction. That's by Zara Ann Bourgeois. Moving on, Debunking Fossil Fuels Myth. Hidden Science, Oil Produced Without Organic Matter, and that's by Sally Dean. There's a subtitle, All hydrocarbon fuels are produced naturally in the mantle of the earth on a continuous basis without the involvement of any organic material. Moving on, Net Zero, a pointless crusade. Bad data and faulty models leading us up the garden path again. That's by Dr. Mike Simpson.
It is Britain's far-right conspiracy theory paper spreading hate and vicious lies. No, that's what the BBC say. The Light is the only national newspaper bringing you the real news and informed opinion on what's really going on today. You can subscribe, order copies, submit articles, and read back issues on our website, TheLightPaper.co.uk, and see for yourself why the establishment are so worried about the uncensored truth getting out to people every month. The Light Paper. Not for right, just right so far. TheLightPaper.co.uk.
Finally, for this episode, here's Survival Lilly, exposing an EU Parliament member talking about preparing a 72-hour survival bag.
Hey guys, my name is Lily and today I want to give you a small update video on the news here in Europe. And first of all, I would like to show you this very concerning video.
It's Ajal Habib. Welcome to What's in My Bag Survival Edition. First up, my glasses. Super important if you want to see what is happening or not. Next, my document in a waterproof pouch. A must in a rainy Brussels. Now, let's talk about lighting. I have a flashlight. If you don't forget the matches and of course, the light. Turn. And water, of course, because water is life. And my special friend, a Swiss Army knife. 18 tools in only one knife. A must-have. And don't forget your medication. You might need it, because you never know. And don't forget something to eat. You might be hungry, very hungry. And of course, some cash. In the middle of a crisis, cash is king. And your credit card might just be a piece of plastic, a charger, and a power bank. Because a dead phone is a dead end. Playing cards, bit of distraction, never hurt anyone. And don't forget a radio. The smaller one. This is everything you need to survive the first 72 hours of a crisis. Speaking about being prepared, the EU is preparing its strategy to be sure that every citizen is safe in case of crisis. Be prepared, be safe.
Okay, so this is a really concerning video. So this lady is showing how you can prepare an emergency survival bag. So it's not an elaborate bug-out bag that she's recommending, but just a small 72-hour survival kit, which gives you enough of time to maybe flee your home, your town, or your country. So, yeah, I'm concerned about this video, and that's because 10 years ago they were always picking on preppers and saying that preppers were weirdos, and now they are publicly asking citizens to prepare. So they would only do that if they really had planned something, maybe getting involved with the war in Russia, I don't know. But all of this is very concerning. And at the end she's saying,
Speaking about being to be sure that every citizen is safe in case of crisis. Be prepared, be safe.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that they are preparing to keep us safe, honestly. I don't think they care about us at all. That's my personal opinion. They don't care about the soldiers who are dying on the battlefield. Of course, politicians or important people will never send their kids or grandkids into war, so it's always peasants who will die on the battlefield. So I don't think so.
Okay, there you go. Survival Lilly with her thoughts there on EU Commissioner Haja Labib's video about surviving the first 72 hours of a crisis. I thought it was interesting when I was informed that European commissioners are on €25,000 a month. When I first heard that, I thought that could not be right. I asked Google, and that was indeed the answer that came back. In this next episode, we will have a look at the situation with the stock markets, changes at the top of the World Economic Forum, and I will ask whether the monarchy is still relevant to the younger generations in the UK. But for now, we're closing with the AI generated track Story Untold, which I created in support of the Vaccine Injured and Bereaved support group Northern Ireland.
In my heart a storm brews every night, echoes of a past that's hard to fight. My voice, a whisper in this silent world, seeking comfort but finding no pearl. I'm just a soul with scars, a story untold, in a world that doesn't always hold. We cry for help, we ask for more. Our pain, our struggle, can you understand? Through the fog of doubt, I see the light, a community that's growing day by day. Together we stand strong and united, for justice, for healing, for unity. Each day a battle, each step a test, wishing for answers, wishing for rest. In shadows of fear, we find our strength to rise again, to fight, to lengthen. I'm just a soul with scars, a story untold, in a world that doesn't always hold. We cry for help, we ask for more. Our pain, our struggle, can you understand? I'm just a soul with scars, a story untold, in a world that doesn't always hold. We cry for help, we ask for more. Our pain, our struggle, can you understand?
Okay, so that was the AI generated Story Untold, created for the Vaccine Injured and Bereaved Support Northern Ireland group. And if you're interested in subscribing to my podcast but are not sure where to find it, you can get the links to all the various podcast platforms through my link tree, and the address for that is linktr.ee/JT podcast as one word. And as I say, I'll be back in the not too distant with another episode. Thank you for watching. If you have been, please feel free to drop comments, suggestions, criticisms, and anything else you can think of, and I'll read those all with interest. And just to say that if you read the description for this episode, you should find links to much of the material covered. Thanks again, and mind yourselves.